Tino Pick, I'm the City Manager at Delray Oaks. And I really appreciate all of you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us tonight for a really important workshop. I'd like to first introduce our Mayor and Council. We have Mayor Kerr here. We have Councilwoman, Councilmember Littell, who's sitting down Indian style over here. We have Councilmember Gagliotti in the back there. And Councilmember Getzel, where'd you go, Getzel, right here. And we're recording this for Vice Mayor Clark, who's not able to be with us. So thank you all to our electeds for taking the time to be here. We have, how many planning commissioners? Raise your hand. Planning commissioners, 1, 2, 3. Thank you for being here. I'd like to start by just saying this. This is a combination of several projects. So the 218 corridor study, which has been going on for about a year, to assess how we can make the 218 corridor safer for bicycles, pedestrians, and vehicles traveling on through our town, as well as through Seaside. And a really important project, the Fort Ward Recreational Trail and Greenway, or FORTAG, as it's called, which we're going to rebrand. And where that is. We got some great news last week that the city, via TAMC, was going to be the beneficiary of a $10.4 million active transportation program grant from the state, matched by $2 million of county Measure X funds, for a total of $12.4 million of funds that are coming to our city to benefit us, to make bicycles, pedestrian, and essentially travel through our community safe. So that's fantastic news. And I just want to introduce some TAMC staff. Debbie Hale, the Executive Director. Debbie, where are you? Debbie Hale is with us tonight. Todd Muck, he is Assistant Executive Director. Rich Deal, Traffic Engineer with TAMC. Stephanie Ian, where are you? The project manager for FORTAG or the 218 corridor study. Who else is here from TAMC that I missed? Okay, that team right there basically wrote the grant, worked it through the system, and thank you. It would never have happened without your efforts. So I just want to let's give them a round of applause. Last time the city got $12.4 million in grant funding, but it's not recent. And then I'd just like to, before I turn it over to, the whole FORTAG concept was really the brainchild of two amazing local residents, not residents of Delray Oaks, I don't think, but very close by. Fred Watson.
Where do they live? Professors.
Fred Watson and Scott Waltz, who's not with us tonight.
Where do they live?
Is it going down your street?
Yeah. Question.
Yeah.
They don't live here.
Hey folks, let me just say this. Thank you for coming tonight. Let's all please be respectful of each other's time, each other's thoughts, and each other's comments. There's a lot to say, and I know you've got a lot on your mind. I know you feel passionate about it. And we're going to hear it all tonight. Okay? We're going to take that all in, so please. Thank you. Fred and Scott were the stakeholders that led the effort to get the Fort Ward Recreational Trail and Greenway on the Measure X ballot, to get it approved by help get it approved by the voters, and it's truly an amazing regional project. And so I want to thank both of you and Scott in absentia. And so with that as introductory remarks, Mayor and Council, anybody have anything to add? Okay, Debbie, where'd Debbie go? We're good? All right, then I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Fred Watson of CSUMB. Fred.
Thanks, Tina.
You bet.
So this is a conversation. We're going to set up a bit of context, explain what we're trying to achieve here, and then open a conversation about how to achieve some kind of big ideas while understanding what everybody wants and needs, and seeing if we can find a way to achieve something that works out for everybody. So, the big idea here that I'm here to talk about is FORTAG. Officially now it's the Fort Ord Regional Trail and Greenway. We started off as the Fort Ord Rec Trail, but then we realised we had something a little bit bigger than recreation. It's about active transportation in general, about moving through our landscapes on foot, on a bike, anything that involves self-propulsion and having less reliance on cars and less traffic and doing what we can for climate change and things like that. So a couple of days ago I was standing on a hill in the city of Delray Oaks in the former Fort Ord, which with a trail to get there is about a 10-minute walk from here. And I've done this many times. I have some privileges, thank you, Dina. I can, while I'm working on the trail, I go to some of these places and figure out, what can we do to improve the ways to reach the places that are in our cities, in our communities that we can't reach, that are beautiful and that can really enrich our lives if we have the opportunity to visit them on a daily basis. And I'm looking down and I see to my left I've got Ryan Ranch there and then Frog Pond in the distance, Stone Creek. I've got the Highland area of the seaside in Carlton, Frog Pond itself. Then a little further, it's kind of down a little bit, there's Delray Park, Work Memorial Park. I can look over and past Safeway and see Laguna Grande Park. I can see the coast, Jacks Peak, the peninsula. I can see Monterey Bay. At sunset, 10 minutes from City Hall, in the city of Delray Oaks. It's fantastic. I've done this a bunch of times. The challenge is that not everybody can do that. But we have the opportunity to make it so that everybody can do that. Can get to that hill in the city of Delray Oaks, or any local place that's your favourite place that works for you, on foot, without having to drive there. So that's what we're about. That's the FORTAG vision in a nutshell when it comes to the Canyon Del Rey corridor from, let's say, Ryan Ranch in the east down to the coastline. That same vision, that's this little piece here, from Ryan Ranch down to the coastline. But there's those ideas and those opportunities, those points, those little magical moments that are right next to where you live throughout this whole network here, all the way up to the north side of Marina, all throughout the CSUMB campus, out to East Garrison. It's in 4 different cities and a county. The landscape, in the wake, if you like, of the closure of former Fort Ord, there's this tremendous number of opportunities to have local places near where you live, to be able to get to them, no matter where you live. And so it's kind of funny, there's an interplay between a regional idea and a whole bunch of local ideas. If we looked at all the little places where we said, there's a little nut here, I can't get across this road, or I can't get through this fence, or they put a development there, we could try to solve all those things one by one. We'd never get there. No one's ever going to fund enough of those small projects for that to work. But if you draw them on a map, a lot of them are kind of on a line, or in kind of big loops like this. You connect them together, you make it so that no matter where you live, you're close to an opportunity to have a journey, whatever size works for you, for your mobility, for your interests. And you create an idea that's big enough that people can get behind it and fund it. And it's worked. We came up with this idea about 6 years ago. As a volunteer, we've just pursued it for 6 years. Tamsin picked it up in a big way about 3 years ago. We've now got full-time consultants on it. We have $30 million in funding to see this vision through. It's going to take more than that, but already we've got that amount of money. What we need to do now is figure out the details, figure out how can we implement this vision, customized to each landscape that travels through, to each city, to each constituency, while staying true to some values that kind of keep us, keep those basic ideas of being able to stand up on a hill and look at Monterey Bay and think, like, if I wanted to, I could walk all the way from here to there without risk of being hit by a car, with my kids being hit by a car, being able to do it as long as I can walk, not being able to, not do it because I've turned 70 and it's too hard to go up that hill. So we've got a list of 9 values here. I guess I just want to pick out a few of these that I think are really going to help us guide finding a way to make this work for Delray Oaks without losing sight of the bigger picture. that serves the entire regional community. And the ones I want to pick on are the idea that this needs to be safe. We need to have a way to walk, to bike with our kids who may be 5 years old, where it's basically impossible for them to accidentally turn the handlebars and just steer into traffic. We can't be near busy traffic. It needs to be accessible. And our standard is wheelchair accessible according to state parks guidelines. And that's in part so that wheelchairs can use it. My brother is a quadriplegic, he's in a wheelchair some of the time. I'm familiar with that. But it's also for all the forms of limited mobility that are equivalent to a wheelchair. So if you're a little out of shape, you're younger or you're older, a wheelchair accessible trail is just about right for being able to say, yeah, I feel comfortable taking that journey. I want to take that journey. I do that every day because it's just kind of pleasant. There's not that hard bit, there's not that bit where I feel a little bit unsteady. And it needs to be pleasant. We have so many beautiful natural assets in our landscape. It would be foolish not to be able to make it so that everyone can get to their local one or the one just past that if they're feeling a little more adventurous. Our parks, within Canyon Delray we have an abundance of just beautiful parks, starting with the sanctuary, the dunes, Roberts Lake, Laguna Grande, Work Memorial Park, Delray Park, the Frog Pond we all know, the Frog Pond many of us haven't found yet on the other side of General Boulevard, the Fort Ord National Monument. That's like 7 parks. We should be able to get from one to the other, no matter where we live within that corridor. And that's I think, what we're trying to achieve here. And I feel confident that by having a conversation, by listening, by learning, by brainstorming, we can make that happen. The way in which we're going to proceed, I think I'll just hand it over to Jeff Knowles, who's from ALTA Planning and Design. We happen to have the nation's best trail and greenway planning firm on the job here, led by Jeff tonight.
Well, I don't know about that. That's quite an introduction. Again, I'm Jeff Knowles with ALTA Planning and Design. Very happy to be here tonight. Before I get going, just want to say, how many folks got a postcard about the event tonight in your mailbox? Okay. How else did folks hear about this? City website? Next door. Email, neighbors. Okay, great. That's helpful for us to know so that there will be future conversations. We can invite you back to have that. I also want to make sure that everybody signed in so that we can share with you conversations that we had tonight and also invite you to future events, okay? Did everybody pick up a comment card as well from Ben when you walked in the front door? There are staff here. I want to introduce Ben Frazier and Beth Martin are from ALTA Planning and Design, the consultant team. We'll be furiously scribbling and taking down your comments tonight. But if we don't get a chance to, please leave us your comments on the comment card. There's the front. If you have more, flip it over on the back. If you need another one, we'll give you another one. These will be scanned and entered into the study report. So it's really important that we capture your comments as part of this. Tonight, we approach this with a spirit of understanding, with a spirit of listening. All right? We are presenting some early concepts to you tonight. This is the beginning of the conversation. All right? So what you see on these boards, no decisions are being made tonight. No decisions are being made next week. Tonight is just sharing some early ideas with you, and then you will tell us where we're hitting the mark, where we're missing the mark, where we're way off the map. All right? Well, I know you will tell us about those things. I'm going to walk through a very basic overview of some of the early design concepts, and then what we have is an open house. We've got a lot of folks in a small room, but we're going to separate a little bit around, and we're going to talk with folks, at least in small groups, one-on-one. Rich is here as well, and so we'll have some Q&A after I do this really brief presentation. We'll be talking, and then I really want to get into listening phase, which is your turn to talk, okay? All right. So the Delta Ray Oaks connection is part of the FORTAG that Fred, I think, just teed up really well. Opportunity to address local, citywide, and regional challenges with walkability and bikeability. And what we're talking about really is family-friendly connections. Right? Local and regional connections that connect residential areas to schools and parks, to scenic trails, university, Pine Ranch. And tonight we're also talking about how we can leverage the TAMSI grant that was talked about earlier to fund this work with Delray Oaks. Through conversations already happening, we've heard from the residents that these are a couple of things that we want to make sure get incorporated into designs. And if there's more things, again, that's what we're here tonight. Improve safety of walking and bicycling. Maintain parking opportunities for local residents. Encourage use by families. Minimize opportunity for vandalism, loitering, homelessness. Prevent groups of high-speed bicyclists of shooting down residential streets. These are things that we've heard. We want to make sure that the designs reflect those values from the community as well. So some design goals. Again, like I mentioned, provide that safe bike and ped connection along Canyon Del Rey and across Highway 218 to connect all these different assets that are within your neighborhoods. Our portion of this piece starts at the Safeway parking lot at Fremont, right across from Laguna Grande. We're going to be along 218, and there's an opportunity, and Ben's board over here, right next to the door. I highlight a couple of these different design solutions for maybe taking a travel lane, widening out the sidewalk, and creating a safe path separate from traffic. Connecting down through Work Memorial Park, through the city, all the way up to the Angeles Way, across Angeles Way. It's Del Rey Park. This is City Hall where we are today. There's a proposed undercrossing under 218 to separate folks from the moving traffic. And then connecting up through Carlton Drive, also a connection to your Frog Pond, and then on Plymouth Drive to connect to Del Rey Woods Elementary School.
What's a Del Rey Woods? Is it because it's a safe route to school?
Safe route to school, and we'll show you some of those opportunities as well. So again, I want to just kind of give you the big overview, and then you'll be able to look at this in more detail on these blow-up boards, because it might be hard to see on this PowerPoint presentation. This is the proposed street highway alignment right here. This is the parking lot to Safeway. This is the Safeway main entrance and exit. So again, bumping out, adding more concrete, more landing areas to cross safely across Fremont Boulevard. And then using this would be taking a portion of that travel lane and then purposing this as this trail separate from moving vehicles. This would be the point of departure for folks that are lycra-clad, the high-speed bicyclists. Those folks are going to stay on the bike lanes. They want a very fast shot. They're going to stay on 218. This is where the families depart and come down into Work Memorial. For Carlton Drive, this is the section on Plymouth Drive here. We're using kind of an unused portion of the right-of-way of the road. The high voltage lines are above. We're going to turn this into a formal trail. We know folks are already walking there now. It's a way to formalize it, making sure it's ADA accessible. No impacts to parking, no impacts to homes. All the homes are backing onto this area here. So we think this is a great connection along Plymouth Avenue. Turn to the corner on Carlton, and again, this is where we have an opportunity to rethink the configuration of the road that's right now, where there's parking kind of pulled off of the curb line. We've got a new concept here that takes that parking back to the curb and creates a shared use path that's fully separated here on the north side of Carlton. That connects all the way down to the connection here at 218. Right now, this is a pretty gnarly intersection. We've been walking across it a couple times this afternoon. We've created a new sidewalk there, and I'll show you an example of that. There'd also be an opportunity for an undercrossing to connect to Frog Pond. And the piece that's funded through this really is only going to look at this one connection right here. There might be future connections through Frog Pond. But we know it's an important, special place for this community, so we want to hear from folks about the values that make that special and make sure that future designs reflect what you care about. A little more detail on Carlton Drive section. Again, here's that planted buffer strip, so it's fully separating you walking and bicycling from motor vehicle traffic. And here's your parking lane, right back along the curb there. So no loss of parking, same parking available there. But we're using this empty space that's available there for this trail. Again, 10 to 12 feet wide, so that bicyclists and pedestrians can pass each other safely. There's another portion.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what about the grade, because it does go downhill?
Yeah.
And I thought you had to switch back.
I think, and so when we break up into groups, there's a pocket park opportunity that we want to hear from folks about. There's a little bit more room, that instead of just going straight down, maybe we can meander it a little bit to slow folks down so they're not just running right into 218. So we want to hear from that when we get to the breakout sessions.
I was just curious.
Yeah, thank you. Plymouth Avenue, again, here's the voltage lines. We're putting that trail right next to them. details you can see when you get to the bin station. We'll show a couple of the crossing locations. We've kind of blown these out just to show you, again, this looks like it's about to be constructed. These are early concepts. If we had drawn these in pen and paper, it probably would have been better. That's how early stage these designs are. We want to get some feedback about what you think is safe to cross here. For Jealous Way, again, there are other opportunities that maybe you've thought about and you're going to hear about for other alignments. We think this one is the most direct and easy as it connects parks as part of that vision that we talked about, connecting the parks together. But if you've got other ideas about how we achieve the goals of this project, we want to hear them tonight in the breakout sessions as well. We want to also hear about if we route it through Jealous Way, what could that look like? Maybe there's an opportunity where we do some traffic calming or some sharrows, or routing bicyclists through a local family-friendly connection, or is there an opportunity to, again, like we did on the other streets, have a separated path? Again, there are trade-offs that we want to hear from folks about both of these alternatives. With both, I think we want to make sure that it's clear to folks that are coming through that this is a residential area, and so there could be signage that say, you know, we want folks to respect the residents that live along the street, keep noise to the minimum. There's the other ideas that we want to hear from you about to do this. So at this point, I want to invite Rich Deal, who's the project manager and principal engineer from TAMC, out to answer clarifying questions. But if you have specifics about the kind of finer details, we're going to break out in about 10 minutes, and we're going to hear from you in these different stations. So, questions from the audience so far? Any questions? Sure.
Is there going to be a bike path on Angeles Way? Yes or no?
Well, there's two options
Yeah,
for a
I
bike.
don't know. Yes or no, he
Yes
said.
or no?
Okay, so
What is your plan? Yes or no? That's all we want to hear.
One question.
That's what he asked you, yes or no?
One answer.
Yes or no?
yes, the FORTAG trail goes down Angeles.
That's a done deal as far as you're
That's
concerned.
this slide here. No, no, no. This is a concept. And this, let me give you a little background. Any project that we do has to go through an environmental process, right? Hasn't gone through that. This is the first concept. This is two concepts that we put up here. If you have another alternative that you think is viable for this trail, we want to hear it because we'll
How
add that
about
to.
no trail on Angeles Way?
I'm happy to look at another alternative that you might have.
Yeah, Canyon Del Rey, build a protective wall on your existing bike path, and let people go up there and forget about your high-speed
I measured
races.
218 today.
He wants to make
You
a
have 7
bike path.
feet.
Hey, folks, let's have it one at a time, okay?
Okay, so what I'd like to do is, I want to capture your alternative so that we can add it to our environmental work.
A little emotional down here, buddy.
It's emotional. That's why we're here to
No, no, it's emotional for us.
We know
Let
it's.
him finish though, so we can get.
No, we're gonna get a bunch of jargon from this. guy.
No, there's no jargon. If you've got an alternative that will work, we're going to study it in the environmental document. And I want to know on that board right back there what you want to do. I want you to write it on that board so we can capture it. I can't do anything with it unless I have the alternative.
I
So,
measured 218 today. You have 7 to 8 feet of room from the curb to the stripe. Why can't you put up a small K-rail and keep the bike path off Angeles Way, put them all up on 218 and reduce the speed limit?
there's a lot of issues with that, and so I'll pick away one at a time. One, it's a state highway, so everything has to go through Caltrans. Yes, I can put up K-rail, but we're gonna have to put up retaining walls on the side so that it'll fit in there and it fits Caltrans minimum distance, okay? It's possible to do that. So I want your alternative on that board so we can add it in there. Is that okay?
Well, I'm just curious. It sounds like it's a done deal on Angeles
Nothing's
Way.
a done deal. Nothing's a done deal until the environmental document is completed, where it's got all your comments, everybody's comments, and it's been approved by all of the boards. So TAMC, City of Del Rio, City of Seaside, Caltrans, it takes an enormous process to get through it. So nothing's a done deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other comment. The service road along the park, right now our park closes at sunset. If we have a bike path going through that area, is that going to be open 24 hours a day?
And we have not even talked about that. So why don't we,
I don't want people down there 24 hours a day.
Good. So let's
I
capture
live
that.
right next to the park. It should be closed at sunset. End of story.
Okay, so let's capture that. We'll work with it. Listen, we're not here to wreck your street.
Oh, I think you are.
That may not be your intention, but.
But that's what's gonna happen, my friend.
Contrary, you know, a lot, I used to live in Virginia where on a bike path and it made all the homes way more valuable.
I've
So
heard that
I
too.
find that to
I've
be,
worked for the sheriff's department for 30 years and I've seen just the opposite. I've seen the homelessness just destroy areas. I've seen crime go up. I've seen sexual assaults go up. But I would like to address this whole group after you're done.
If we could, I'm just gonna take another question, then and actually two questions, and then we're gonna split up.
I would like to address the whole group because you're going to split into groups.
Because our
And
mission here is to pass on information and hear from you.
I have information to pass on also. Do they not get to hear from me?
Is there a different setting for that? Or you want to open it up for comments?
Or are you trying to make sure your
Yeah, let's-
agenda
let me-
gets
let me-
passed?
Let me just jump in. Okay. So I think, you know, and if I'm totally derailing the process here, guys, sorry, but I think it's best if we get all of this. Okay, all
Let's
right.
do it.
Okay, so let's do, give me a few minutes. What would you like to say?
I've been making some notes since I've been sitting here.
Okay.
I work for the Monterey County Sheriff's Office. I've worked for the Sheriff's Office for over 30 years. The only reason I'm telling you where I work is because I've had firsthand experience with trails, what they can do to neighborhoods, and some of the nightmares that can come with them. The transient population, well, recently the state of California passed some laws which changed drug penalties, where our numbers of people with addictions have gone up. They don't go to jail. Unfortunately, they're not getting as much help as they used to, so our transient population has gone up. Our transient population is typically people that are mentally ill or addicts of some sort, alcohol and or drugs. So right now, we have a fairly large transient population brewing on General Jim Moore, and we have one near Fremont and Canyon Del Rey. Well, Monterey PD and Seaside PD have been trying to deal with the encampment at Fremont and Canyon Del Rey, and they've been unsuccessful. They have way more resources than the city of Dory Oaks. Now, a lot of the transients look for some things when they set up their encampments. One, they want easier access for their carts, bicycles, shopping carts, whatever. So we're going to give them that. The other thing they like is access to water. Well, they want to bring it right by a creek and a frog pond. We're going to give them that. Another thing they like is a grocery store. So they can go through the dumpster and get food. We're going to give them that. And they also like some sort of shelter for inclement weather. You put a tunnel under Canyon Del Rey, we're going to give them that. We will never get this transient population out of Del Rey Oaks. It's better to keep it from coming in. Now, the transient population, a lot of people that have not dealt with this population think, oh, I feel really bad for these people. And I do too. However, this is a population that has really poor hygiene. This is a population that defecates in the street. This is a population that urinates in public. This is a population that does not clean up their trash. This is a population that likes to bring drug paraphernalia and leave it all over the place. This is also a population that often has warrants and can be violent. When I would deal with these situations for the sheriff's department, I'd bring 6 or 7 deputies. I would bring public works. I would bring trucks to load this stuff. We had a lot of resources. This city doesn't have those resources. I'm not done. I mean, I
Can
think.
you get close? Because, I mean, let's give everybody a chance.
So you want to make sure that you guys get to do your whole presentation, but, you know.
Well,
So
and for
now
others-
you're
and
bringing
for others to
officer
speak, right?
safety issues. You're talking about making this a safer community. You're not. You're making it more dangerous. Our children from Del Rey Oaks will be safe in that park. And you're talking about connecting 2 parks. You're talking about connecting Work Park with Del Rey Park. Well, Work isn't really a park, it's a field. It used to be a driving range. So let's not make it into something that's not. Our officers are gonna take.
I'm gonna stop you there. And just so we can get everybody a chance to talk. And And if you want to give me written comments, we'll copy them, we'll get them distributed, but just for the sake of brevity, thank you.
You know what,
So what we'll do.
I'd like to say a couple more things, because this is important. I know you want us to be brief, but these are our homes. This is our safety.
I understand.
The transient population that is addicted to drugs, they don't have jobs. They steal to pay for their drug habits. Do you think property crimes, do you think these things are gonna go up? Of course they're gonna go up. And you think they're gonna go far to break into homes and cars? No, they're gonna do it in our neighborhoods.
Well, so, thank you.
I'm
Thank
not
you for that.
done. So you're cutting me off, and you're not gonna let me continue
I'm
with
going
my,
to ask you,
my
I'm going to ask you to
5-page
respect other
list.
people's.
Yeah.
Please, come on. I mean, there's 40 people. Okay,
I
so
think
thank
they
you
need
for.
to know the realities
Well,
of this.
let me caveat it this way, all right? So this is an important, I get the importance, you guys might think I don't, but trust me, I get the visceral reaction that you're having to this. So what, so.
With us, not at us like you are. You came in here with a clear
Hey, Tom,
Agenda.
Tom, listen, I am excited that the city got $12.4 million. And I'm
Yes,
excited about
but it
the bar.
doesn't
But
benefit the
listen,
city, it
let
benefits
me,
everybody around the city.
are we talking with each other? Okay,
No,
so-
we're not.
So let me just respond. We do have a very capable police department, and we can and will,
How many people do you have on at any one time?
we can and will get our police to have a very, very strong voice in what is going on. I get the inference, no, I think they would differ, I think they would differ
How
with.
long have you worked in law
I
enforcement?
think they would
Okay, here's the
differ.
problem though. There's $20 million on the table and you want them to piss it away.
No, I'm not saying
Because-
piss it away, but I'm
Yeah,
telling them.
because this is money for transportation, not for homelessness.
Charlie, I get it. So listen, so
But this
here's,
is frustrating.
let's agree on a couple of ground rules.
Let's not let this money walk away because.
Come on.
Hey,
You have someone
guys,
ask a question,
let's
please.
agree on a couple of ground rules, because there's a lot of passion, a lot of feeling here. Please let me moderate and let the professionals that are here getting paid to do this tonight try to moderate this meeting, right? And so, please, one person at a time, respect everyone else's time, and we'll get through this, right? We are here to take a lot of input. There are boards, there's actually a method to this process that we want to get to tonight to get all of your input. And the input can be verbal, one at a time, or you can write it down and it becomes part of the permanent record, right? So, to the public safety issues, I appreciate it. Please write those down. Trust me when I tell you that we will have Chief Hoyne and RPD involved with this planning, looking at the homeless issues that you've raised that may be drawn into our city and you think will be and cause very, very significant problems. I understand what you're saying. We're going to look into that. What I'd like to do before we break here is I'd like to give a few people a chance to speak because it's been just a few of us so far. And so let's do that if we can. Let me go, one second, let me go back right there, please.
Can you put up the picture for Carlson Drive for me? I just had a question.
And this one here, or?
I guess this one's okay. Just, I mean,
Move back one.
keep going back, yeah. No,
How do I-
one more. Yeah, either one, I think is pretty much okay. Just, I was wanting to know, coming down, like from Plumas down Pennant on that right side, is that still gonna be no parking? There's no option for parking on that right side any
Correct.
longer?
Yes, that's correct. So just parking on the home side?
Okay, and those bumpers will be taken out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What's wrong with the bike path that's there now and giving the parking back on that right side?
So I defer to the professionals, but my understanding is it crosses driveways and on the other side it would have no
Correct. I mean, you
driveways.
pretty much took the whole parking off of Carlton Drive. So when you have people come over, they're literally having to park
Way.
on with the Quindale or those other areas because all the parking is taken away.
Okay.
And with the bumpers there too, you're not making it any easier for people to park there either, or you're having to park at your neighbors because all that parking's been taken away.
Okay.
But you guys have the bike path there already, so what's wrong with the way that's already done?
So
what you have right now, that's striped right now, doesn't allow parking on the opposite side now.
Right.
So it's the same condition. All we're doing is taking that green bike lane next to your parking that's there, and we're moving it over and it becomes sidewalk where you ride your bike. So the space right now has parking on one side, actually it has curb, walking space, parking, green bike lane, 2 travel lanes, and no parking. That's what you have right now.
The whole
So,
point,
next, this plan right here, this alternative that we laid out is, you eliminated the walking space, and your parking goes back to the way it was, right on the curb, next to the house. 2 travel lanes, and then this is the new bike lane at sidewalk level, so it's separated by curb and gutter. So it's the same amount of parking you have now, it's just we reoriented the space and made sidewalk, so it's safer for families to ride and walk up and down Carlton without any driveway. No driveway conflict.
okay, the whole point of the last project had to do with
Traffic calming.
speeding up and down that road, which
Yes.
obviously didn't fix anything. Like, where did that even fix the speeding on Carlton Drive? By changing all that, or the bumpers? And doing it this way, I mean, no matter how you change it this way, where is this even helping that, as far as speed? Because that was the
So-
whole point of that project.
Yeah, so this roadway setting between the 2 curves is narrower than what you have now. And you'll probably see a drop of 2, maybe 3 miles an hour. That's the road's straight and long, and it's comfortable. So that's about what you're gonna get, is a drop about 2 and 3 miles an hour.
Just because of the way the lines are gonna be put, is gonna
Because it's
prevent.
a little bit narrower setting. But it's still
So how does
long
that
and straight
change
and
your-
has good visibility.
But how does that still change your speed? Like, that doesn't necessarily mean people
Let me-
can fly
let me
down
do
that
this.
road if they don't see anyone.
Let me do this, you can have that conversation with Richie, and you can make those comments, because it's a good, right, each one of these discussions is in and of itself valuable and
Because
important.
I live right on
Go ahead.
Carlton Drive.
Excuse me?
I live right there,
Yes, ma'am.
on the island of work, Queendale,
Right.
and Carlton, right on the island, that's where I live, and that's where the problem is, guys.
Okay.
And the speed scale doesn't help.
But I mean, even the project that you guys turned it into, it is now, where did you think that was gonna fix the speeding problem?
Let's have all this over here.
Yeah,
We'll talk Carlton right now.
got it. Yes, ma'am.
The big problem, and what you guys might not be realizing, is there is one green bike lane, but that's one way. So you need a bike lane coming the other way, so you need it both ways. So this addresses that situation. As a transportation cyclist, I do not want to go down Carlton because it feels too squished. So that would really solve my problem.
Right, but the part I'm trying to solve
Sorry, folks,
is
let me,
the
I got it,
speed.
I got it. Let me
On the
try
street,
to,
that's
let me try to
what I
manage this.
want.
So questions to me, and then I'll try to keep it going. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to make a comment make some comments for at least 3 people that couldn't be here tonight because it is a school night. First of all, addressing this lady's issues here, I've had those echoed with people who live in the Andrew Westway neighborhood. And one of them being a first responder who's a resident in the area, family of first responders. They have responded to trails and tunnels all throughout Monterey County, and every single one of the sentiments that she spoke to was echoed. There's a reason why I choose not to go to certain parts of the recreation trail. Have you driven down Highway 1, anybody lately, and driven from here to Marina? Okay, there's a reason why I choose not to go to the Safeway bathroom or take my children in there by the Starbucks side, because I opened the door and somebody was smoking crack in there. There's a reason why, I don't go to certain places, and to have that barreling down our street is appalling to me, and I've had the sentiment echoed by people who live and breathe this. I've been out in the community trying to prevent infectious disease by vaccinating our transient population for hepatitis A, because there have been outbreaks throughout the state of California. I don't want needles and these things going down my driveway. It's very important to me. So that's another thing. Another person who couldn't be here tonight. There's a reason why this person also doesn't visit certain parts of the rec trail. Because, and pardon me if this offends anyone, but as my best friend was walking my infant son in the jogging stroller trying to enjoy the trail, a transient person screamed at her and called her a fat cunt. She chooses not to walk down the rec trail anymore because we don't want to experience that, so we stick close to home. Again, I don't want to be assaulted that way in my own neighborhood. So that's another thing. The last person that I would like to speak for, and all these things are sentiments that I also echo. Another thing is my children on a school night thought it was very unusual that I was headed out to a thing, because I'm usually home as the primary caregiver. And without any prompting, I simply stated to them, Mommy is going to a meeting because there are people in the community that would like to build a recreation trail right down our street. And they stopped and they looked at me very puzzled and thought, and they said to me, why would they want to do that down our road? And I said, that's a very good question. What do you think about it? And their first response was, we're going to have a lot of strangers in our neighborhood if we have a recreation trail going down the middle of our street. I said, okay, what else do you think about it? I said, what about all of the animals that live on our road? Angeles Way is a very strange little place if you've ever walked down it. We have turkeys and frogs and turtles and deer and ducks and I don't know if they're salamanders or newts, but there's all sorts of things that live down there. And the more traffic that you bring, and the more trash that people bring, and the more hubbub that's going on. Oh, sorry, we saw an owl the other day too, because it's a nice quiet little place. My children thought, what will happen to all of the animals? And then the last thing that they said was, they want to build a tunnel? I said, do these people know how soft and wet the dirt is around here? And how much water runs through here? That just sounds like a lot of engineering that needs to happen. And I don't think it's going to last very long because the water's just going to destroy everything. There's 6 inches. Okay? So while I was finishing making their dinner so that I could get them fed while I was here, they actually made signs that they wanted me to bring and show in protest. Because while we are a family that enjoys outdoors, we visit Jack's Peak and certain parts of the recreation trail. They didn't understand why you would want to do this in somebody's neighborhood because none of those photos and none of the photos on that postcard show a trail going through anybody's neighborhood. None of those pictures show that our driveways are there and that's where our families park. It's where we park garbage cans every Monday morning. And that's how we live. Oh, sorry, and they thought we were going to be late to school because of all of the people that would be on the trail. Because that's in their mind what you do when there's a trail. You use it and you go down the road. And it's going to block our driveway and we're going to be late for school because my children have priorities, clearly.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
just wanted to share that.
So, can I just, before we take the next person, all of you have thought this through and you feel really strongly about it. I hope to God, before you leave tonight, give us everything you can on alternatives. How can we build this thing and take your concerns into account? Please allow us to benefit from your sort of your passion, your thinking on these boards. Hold on, let me get somebody that hasn't spoken. Yes, ma'am.
I live down on Angeles Way, and we have these little bridges that go over the creek. And whenever a new person comes down Angeles Way, they're always wearing trees. And as they're walking along or they're riding their bicycles, they have children with them. The children want to all come on my bridge and look down at my creek, or the creek. And it always scares me because kids start quickly and fast. Now when this rec trail comes down my street and I have water running down the creek like it is now, it is fascinating. And all these little kids are going to come on my bridge, look over, and who knows if there's going to be an accident. Where's the liability going to be? Naturally, it's going to be with me. I think it's dangerous to have a rec trail down along the creek. I'm sorry.
No,
Especially with little kids riding bicycles, skateboards, running here and there.
Okay.
I just don't think it's right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone that hasn't made a comment that wants to make a comment? Yes, sir.
So this is mostly me trying to bring myself up to speed, but could we go back to the overall map of the whole trail? So
Okay, I guess my interpretation of this whole thing was a little different, but I remember someone expressing a bit of confusion why the trail seems to start around the area of Safeway and then go to a public school. And my main source of confusion of if this is supposed to be some sort of way to expedite the movement of people to this school, just by looking at the map, I can already see several other routes that would actually be faster to get there. So I'm just a little bit confused why there seems to be, at least on this map, those are the specific stop and end points.
Really quickly, that's not even our neighborhood school. That school belongs to the city of Seaside.
Well,
So our neighborhood school is across 68 in the Fish Flats neighborhood. I'd love to see them blast a path through Fish Flats to get to our school.
Yeah.
They would love it.
Yeah, so what you're seeing is the green is the FORTAG trail, the entire trail setting. In several loops, there's a north loop around Marina that goes past the Slates River, which is beautiful. There's a loop through CSUMB, both those, access the coastal trail. There's a loop through Fort Ord, and it comes down here. This, in the red, is the segment that's in Del Rios. This does connect down to the Rick Trail by in and out. So you get your fries and the ride of the trail. But we're just talking about this one piece inside Del Rios. That's what the grant is funding. So we're going to build all of it, but we're trying to build pieces that make sense to start. Okay?
Right here in the right here, sir. Right.
Actually, and I understand is it your project, this whole thing?
Well, no, it's actually Fred and Scott's project. They're the founders.
How long have you been involved, I guess, is my question.
Well, I have not been involved until the Measure X was passed and I came on board with TMC. And this isn't my only project, I got a lot of projects.
Do you know how long our city's been involved, if you can answer that question?
First meeting I had with the previous city manager about 4 or 5 years ago.
City manager that told us he had nothing about this.
And then your previous mayor I've had meetings with him a long time ago, and through his roles on the tenancy board and the FORA board, he's been part of a number of actions that move FORTAG forward. Our first presentation to the City Council of Del Rios was early 2018, and prior to that, there were public tours in 2015 and 16 that took anyone who wanted to come on tours of the route through Del Rios, particularly into the former Fort Ord Pass part of Del Rios. The map, as drawn now, has been basically that shape for about 5 years, 5.5 years.
So it's fair to say in some shape or another, the city's been involved for 5 years.
Yeah, I have convened, I'm not kidding, 300 meetings. 270 of them have been kind of sit downs with staff and organisational ropes like this, sustainable seaside and things like that. 22 have been public presentations, 7 have been public tours. We've had a website and a Facebook page the whole time with the map. So we've tried our hardest to put everything out there to be as transparent as possible and to listen the whole time. I've done a lot of listening and tuning and changing. And this is part of that, in a big way.
One thing is really important
to you.
What's that?
I said I think everyone believes it.
This has been, when I've asked city council members that came, walked to my house to get their endorsement, I asked, and they said they knew nothing about this. Our previous mayor told us they knew nothing about this. Last election,
Well,
they have to understand what we're treating.
Fair enough. And now, so some of you are more familiar than others with the development process. What Rich Deal mentioned earlier in terms of we're at the beginning of an environmental review process that requires every comment that's made to be addressed, and it requires the evaluation of various routes. So even though there was amazing grassroots work done by Fred Scott, that this got passed on Measure X as part of a conceptual project. The notion that the route that's drawn here is the route that's going to be built is simply, it's not legal to even do that. We have got to go through an environmental review process that we're at the very beginning of at this point. May it end up on a lot of this? Absolutely, sure, it may. But it's not preordained, it is not a done deal, set in cement by any means, by law, cannot be. So I just want to make that point in addition to kind of where we are in this process. And sir, you were next.
Yeah, well, I met with Fred a year or so ago out in the street, out in Angeles. 4 or 5 of us were there. We voiced the same concerns to you then that are being voiced tonight.
Yeah.
My next point is, what exactly how does this exactly benefit the people that live on that side of the creek? When you realize that the parking on that side of the street will be eliminated to the point where the garbage cans, it seems frivolous, but you even said, that's a good question. The garbage cans have to go on the creek, so if some person on Sunday comes by and decides they want to go on the creek, well, I can't go on this path, there's garbage cans. So what's the benefit to us, 8 houses on that side of the street, possibly only 16 voters? So I realize that's not a huge concern for the city. 16 voters, come on. 16 voters, not a huge concern. What's the benefit to us? And these are all Angeles Way people here.
Sure. Well, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to benefit you directly. And
thank you for being honest.
But what I would really appreciate is for us to go through this process so that not only do we capture the comments and feelings and opinions of the folks on the Angeles, but also of the people, others in the city, for and against. I mean, we've heard people about Carlton with great concerns about Carlton. We've heard others. I suspect there are people that are not speaking up that would love nothing more than to see a trail through, but they're not saying anything right at the moment. I'd like to get a broader sort of sense of what the community wants and look at the different alternatives and go through this process. And I'm not trivializing what you're saying, but I'm just saying it is an important part of the overall dialogue of a very large project for our city. It is, as I understand it, we're at the front end of about a 2-year process before anything actually gets built.
It's actually longer than 2 years. It's 2 years till we get to the end of environmental when the project is defined and approved.
So and I reason say that to you tonight is to help put in context that, you showing up here tonight and seeing a map here, it's not a done deal. The routing's not a done deal. We have won a large grant. Yes, that's fantastic news.
What are you going to do with the money?
That it's going to go into doing the environmental process and the design, and it pays for that guy right over there and his guys over here to do a lot of the work. And then it's going to pay ultimately for construction as well. But there's design and environmental review costs that started already that are going to be paid for by the grant.
Where does the city benefit from this though? We see a lot of, we see everybody around the city benefiting,
Yeah.
but we don't see where our residents really benefit.
Well, that's going to be for the residents to say, and let them say it.
Yeah.
So,
But would you want this in front of your house?
I think the Angeles Way discussion is separate from do we want bikes and trails through our community?
Oh, it's
And I
not.
think
You're
that
going to put a bike and
I'm
trail
a
right down
runner
our
and a
street.
biker, and
How
I
is
like
that
to,
separate?
and my son's a skateboarder. And so, having nice places to do those things
Yeah.
in our community makes it a desirable community to be in and have kids in.
Right.
So,
You through.
I'm
Very
Let's let everybody have their say, because they can't make.
I like that. Yeah, I didn't comment on, the fear-driven comments that you've been making, so.
listen, for the folks folks that feel passionately that this shouldn't happen on Angeles,
We've been lied
you ask,
No, it's
You
the
asked-
beginning
you
of a
asked-
2-year process, and she's been
I
very clear
asked
about that.
prior city
It's-
council members and the
That's
mayor about
fine,
this,
but
and
now-
they've
but we're
denied
where
it.
we
We've
are
already
now.
been lied to, so we are
No,
skeptical.
but we're at the beginning of
Yeah.
a 2-year process, as he stated. It's not set in stone. It sounds like Angela's Way is very much in play. So everybody just needs to get their voices heard, and let's look for other alternatives.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you, thank you.
No.
All right,
This is just,
thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So what is the estimate of the number of people, either walkers and cyclists, that would be on Angeles Way on a given day?
Yeah.
if it's on Angela's Way,
Which is on Angeles Way, how many people are we talking about?
We don't have a numerical estimate, but Jeff reminded me of something this afternoon that I think is really pertinent. Alton has a lot of experience with this process and how it works out throughout the nation. And their observations that Jeff can clarify is when you build a regional system like this, the majority of use is local. So it's good to be regional so that you don't have to choose where local is. But the use in the majority ends up being us in our community. I live in Marina, I'm going to use a little bit next to me, and someone else in Seaside is going to use a little bit next to them.
and I drive and park to get on your trails in Marina.
Right,
So, because I don't have
and I've been
access from
driving a
the
frog
roads.
run for years to go for a run around frog pond.
I
Yeah,
have already
everyone's got
ride
their
my
own
bike down the street though, I don't need a bike path.
All right. Okay, so, yes, ma'am.
I like that picture it showed on Plumas, where the bike trail is going on the PG&E right away or something. I don't know, how do you feel with the intersection of Kinder Right Road? Could you just run the trail all the way on the PG&E thing, all the way down to Burger King?
We actually have walked that, and that's a great comment, because I wanted to find an alternative to Angeles. And this utility easement goes not quite to Fremont Street, and there's a huge elevation drop between where it kind of ends and to the backyard of the cannabis.
It'd be nice to study that though, because I've spent time in that way, looking for my cat. But yeah, no, it's kind of, it's not nice in back there, so it'd be nice to make that nicer, yeah.
It does connect City of Seaside, two City of Seaside parks there.
Yeah.
Tennis courts and.
Yeah, the tennis court, yeah.
That'd be great, and you'd have to upgrade Canyon Del Rey, because that's the scariest part for me riding my bike is down Canyon Del Rey where I have that much room.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you upgrade that would be awesome.
Have you guys taken into account with the dog park? You've got a lot of people walking dogs down Angeles Way to and from the dog park. Dogs and bicycles don't always get along.
But they're both welcome on our trail.
Yes,
But
but
no dogs on
you've
the
already
trail?
got a lot going on.
No, dogs are welcome. Dogs are good.
Do you have a specific design in front of Safeway, how the path is going to exit the parking lot or anything like that?
We have a concept that we can walk through, but it's not anywhere near to what it's gonna look like. And you're right, this is a very challenging intersection. And we're gonna work the pieces so that they fit right, and Caltrans has final say, because it's their roadway. But basically, I have to get folks across the Safeway driveway, and, you know, if you've ever exited Safeway,
That
that's
should be
tough,
a turn lane.
right? So we're spending some time on this to make it safe. Our current concept has a separate right turn lane instead of the through lane that drops.
Great.
So by putting in a separate right turn lane, you get out of that scary thing here, and it also gives the driver exiting a little bit more room to pull forward before they turn left, instead of crossing 2-3 lanes or crossing.
What about the semis that are backing behind Safeway?
Semis don't back behind semis.
They do park back there sometimes.
There are a
They're
few
overcrowded.
things that park back there, but their loading area is down.
When the loading area is crowded, they have parked in the back, waiting their turn.
But it's very light, and we will still accommodate it. Even if, what if it becomes very heavy? This will still work. So we're shrinking this driveway approach down to make it a very short crossing and to make it level, so when you ride across, it's comfortable. But it will work for trucks, and it'll work for the,
What would be an estimated construction time just for something like that? 6 months, a year?
you know, I'm not gonna give a guess, but I built stuff like this in a year, and, there's a lot of pieces.
Yeah, it's a busy place.
Yeah. The other thing we're gonna do, that we wanna do, we'd like to do, Caltrans is not bought up on it, is shrink these lanes a little bit, create better space here, and have a separate bike crossing and ped crossing here. Lots of good visibility. Shrink this radius so that this turn is a little slower. It'll still work with all the trucks, but it'll be slightly.
Bikes and cars. There's more cars than bikes. You're gonna shut down the lanes so bikes can go and cars have to wait. You go over here where people can pull out a Safeway, go into Del Rio's. Another inconvenience for Del Rio's people. They can come out there and turn right and get in the merging lane. Now you're gonna shut that down, so the people turning right have to wait. I mean, come on, you're accommodating bicycles in favor of cars. There's more cars and more people in cars, come on. 15, 20 years from now, I'll be croaked. But then you can do it because there'll be electric cars, more people walking, because nobody can afford to buy electric cars. So,
You know, 20 years ago, I used to design freeways down the Orange County Basin.
bicycles
You know they're all for
You're the
cars.
reason there's
I'm-
more traffic down there.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing we're gonna have more traffic here over the next 20 years, all over the peninsula. And wouldn't it be great if we planned for bike and ped travel so that the car wasn't our only?
You're not gonna get Californians in cars, I'm sorry,
If you want
and
good
bikes.
bike travel, why are we taking it down the hill across and then up a hill?
Why can't you just reconstruct all of Ponte Del Rey? You can't do that?
Also, without.
I mean, all-
So let me get this back to, capture those comments.
It's rolling good, you know.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, man, this is brutal, this is good. This is a good test, yes.
So how many accidents do we get at that Safeway entrance a year?
You know, that's a good question, because I know we get some, and we don't have that data. Sorry?
How many accidents do
How
we
many
get a year
crashes?
at that intersection, that driveway to Safeway?
Thank you.
I know we get some, we just don't have the data yet, so we're gonna have to get it from CHP, and we will, and be part of the traffic study. So great question. We're good at doing safety solutions, so our goal is to drop that crash rate dramatically at that driveway.
And then a follow-up is the median in the middle of Fremont. It's kind of a favorite place for the homeless to hang out.
No, it would be our park,
The median goes away, so there's no place to stand. So part of this is actually addressing some of those issues that are.
Social engineering. No, we're not doing that for us. We need the space for the bike to speak it right.
Okay, so, if I may, I think what I'm gonna suggest, it's 7:05 now, we've been going for a little over an hour, and by the way, this has all been valuable and I appreciate it. Let's move to the next step, if we can, of actually getting up, getting around, and capturing your comments and thoughts on these cards, so that we can have it as part of the record. And then I think after that happens, what's next?
You know, we're gonna stick around, so if you wanna meet up us in a little bit, you can do that. But Angela's Way is gonna be here.
Rich, just, we got a big group here. I was thinking, we got 2 boards for Angela's Way, maybe one in that corner, we'll have another one maybe over here, we can consolidate some chairs, just to
Great call.
everybody out.
And then, are we gonna reconvene, or is this it? We're gonna,
Folks, I would invite you to stay as long as you are willing to have conversations with staff. At the end, please make sure you've signed in. I want to make sure that we capture conversations that have already happened. I've been writing furiously, and we want to share with you comments that we collect after this meeting, and let you know about future meetings. Again, this is the beginning, not the end. So make sure you sign in and you drop off your comment cards on the way out the door. If you want to stick around,
to me or leave them on the table?
if you want to stick around, please feel free to circulate as you wish.
One last thing, one last thing, sorry. Saturday,
I was just gonna ask, the next thing on the 16th, they're from 10 to 2 or
on
whatever it is.
Angela Street,
What is that all about?
Not this summer.
Saturday the
a
16th.
week from the Saturday, the 16th. We are going to take a couple of blocks, short blocks on Angeles. We'll lay out some temporary striping in the pattern that it would look like that we saw here. And then we'll have some temporary tape left over for any of your ideas to put down. We're gonna have some bikes, and you can ride it, see what you like. If you hate it, it's still okay. If you like one more than the other, that's okay too. But we're doing that so that you can understand exactly what you get with those two options, and if there's a third one you want to look at, we can lay that out and try and do it too. So please come, all you people, especially if you really hate Angeles bike lanes, if you hate it, please come, because we want you to know what you hate all the way.
Saturday the 16th, 10 o'clock.
If anybody wants to walk me to the transient encampment with me to show you what you might be dealing with, I'm more than happy to take people on a walk whenever they want. Go down Laguna Grande Park, go down